Hey friends, got something to show you in the garden. Especially in Western cultures, we tend to think of mushrooms as being more dangerous than plants, but that is exactly backwards. But I do understand it. We're just more familiar with and accustomed to plants. They're ever present in our lives. We keep them in our homes. We have trees that are with us all year long, and the annual and perennial plants are only out of sight for a few months each year. The fungi are just as ever present. We just can't see them. We only see their fruiting bodies, which tend to be a bit mysterious and ephemeral, most of them lasting only 2 weeks or less. So I do understand it, but for example, you can touch any mushroom without any ill effects, whereas there are a number of plants that can give you dermatitis or a skin rash. Well, actually there is one mushroom that is known to sometimes give people a skin rash. That is the chicken fat mushroom. So let's take a quick survey, quick show of hands. How many of you out there know someone who has gotten a rash from touching a chicken fat mushroom? Okay, that's exactly 0 people. All right, how many of you know someone who's gotten a rash from touching a poison ivy, poison sumac, or poison oak plant? Pretty much everyone. Not to mention the parasites that plants can harbor, like ticks and chiggers. And you can also taste any mushroom, put it in your mouth and spit it out without swallowing, whereas you probably wouldn't want to do that with every plant. I don't really recommend doing that with mushrooms. Either it's not that useful a tool for identification, and if you happen to taste a deadly poisonous mushroom and mess up the tasting without swallowing part, that might be a decision that you lived to regret.
Or didn't.
But the number of plants here in southern Indiana that are poisonous far outnumber the number of mushrooms that are poisonous, and it's just more of a volume thing. There are just more plants, more plant material. For example, this giant poison ivy plant scaling this big white oak tree probably has a biomass that outweighs all the mushroom fruiting bodies on this entire 2-acre property, if not a much larger area. And if we look at calls to poison control centers in the United States, the number of plant-based calls numbers in the tens of thousands, where the number of mushroom-based calls numbers in the thousands. So that's more evidence that plants are indeed more dangerous than mushrooms. I guess people tend to fear mushrooms maybe because they think they can be deceptive at times, seeing as there are numerous poisonous and toxic lookalikes for edible mushrooms, but that is also the case with plants. In fact, I have a deceptive and deadly plant over here that appeared in my garden. I want to show it to you. Let's check it out. Okay, before I show you the plant in question, let me show you some of its relatives. These are all plants in the family Apiaceae. Here is some flatleaf parsley. Over here we have some carrots. You can kind of see the family resemblance there. And here we have some standard celery. Those are all related to this plant, which volunteered in the garden, probably out of a bird's behind. This is poison hemlock. You can tell by its kind of broader, darker green leaves compared to the carrots and the celery and the parsley. And the giveaway here is the purple spots on the stem. All right, let's pull it up so we can get a better look. Oops, I was trying to pull up the whole plant there to show you the whole plant, including the root, but I probably should have used a spade because it broke off. But I'll show you a picture of one here now. It has a long taproot, much like a carrot. This plant is very similar to the wild carrot, aka Queen Anne's lace. Queen Anne's lace will not have the little purpley spots toward the bottom of the stem, and they will both have kind of disc-shaped clusters of tiny white flowers, but Queen Anne's lace will have one single purple flower right in the middle. That's where old Queen Anne pricked her finger when she was sewing her lace. This is an extremely toxic plant. It has a toxin within it called choanine. If you were to ingest as little as 1/10 of a gram of this plant and not get treated, you will die. It'll start with muscle paralysis in your feet and legs and work its way up your body so your respiratory system fails and you die of asphyxiation. You can even suffer effects from touching it, hence the glove, or at least in some cases. Definitely something to be aware of, especially if you're a gardener. Be aware that poison hemlock can appear in your garden spontaneously. You want to keep an eye out for that for sure, and do not confuse it with your celery or your carrots or your parsley. But yeah, just a little bit of evidence that plants can be just as deadly and deceptive as mushrooms. Now that we've seen the poison hemlock, let's go ahead and go through and list all the deadly poisonous plants and mushrooms in southern Indiana. These are all confirmed killers. Let's start with the plants. First we have the poison hemlock, of course. Then we have the water hemlock, the most poisonous plant in this region. Then we have deadly nightshade. I do have a relative of the deadly nightshade that spontaneously appears in my garden, that being the Carolina horse nettle. Less toxic, but still a dangerous plant. And of course I have solanaceous plants in the nightshade family, like tomatoes and peppers. Let's see, other poisonous plants in this area. We have the castor bean. We have Jimson weed. That's also in the nightshade family. We have foxglove. And there are also some deadly poisonous ornamental plants, like the yew tree or the yew hedge. Maybe you played with the squishy red berries from a yew hedge when you were a kid. That's the only part of that plant that is not deadly toxic. If you were to eat the leaves or seeds of the yew in quantity, you would die of heart failure. And another ornamental that is deadly poisonous is the autumn crocus, which can cause multi-organ failure. And there are some honorable mentions in the plant category. These aren't generally known to be fatal, but could be fatal to pets or children if eaten in quantity. Some examples of these would be like the mayapple, the Virginia creeper, the white snake root, or the lily of the valley. So quite a number of poisonous plants there. Now let's talk about the mushrooms. Okay, poisonous mushrooms in this area. First and foremost, we have the deathcap mushroom, the world's most deadly and dangerous mushroom. Then we have a relative of the deathcap, the destroying angel. And we also have the funeral bells, or deadly Galerina. And we could also include morels and false morels in this category, as people have died from eating these when they were improperly prepared. Always thoroughly cook your mushrooms. But this is very rare, and people who have died from eating morels and false morels usually have comorbidities or some other health complications that contributed to their death. And the honorable mentions for the mushrooms, these aren't known to kill people, but send them to the hospital quite often. Examples of these would be like jack-o'-lantern mushroom, then the pigskin puffball, and like the green spored parasol. So you can see that there are way more poisonous plants than there are poisonous mushrooms, and there are just more plants out there. So plants are definitely more dangerous than mushrooms.
Be afraid. Be very afraid.
And if you're a beginning forager, this is a great place to start learning all the deadly poisonous plants and mushrooms in your area. That'll give you a good baseline to keep you safe going forward. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you got something out of it. I'm Michael File. I'll see you next time on Mushroom Journeys.